All right, I don't know how to start these videos. I always struggle with them, so I'm just going to get right into it. Today, I want to start with a little bit of a story, but the main goal, and I'm very excited about this one, is I'm going to share my journaling practice with you. This channel, my channel here, it's meant to be a place where you come to find your center, the thing that brings you meaning. The way I try to do that is by reading deeply, by reflecting on what I read, by writing it down, but also just writing in a journal in long form, right? Like paragraph after paragraph, no structure. Those are some ways in which I try to find what is important, what is meaningful for me, and gain basically insights in life. This is a very distracting life. There's just distractions everywhere. Anywhere you look, something's grabbing our attention. So it's even more important to find ways to either grab our attention, keep them to ourselves, to gain some kind of agency over our attention. And I do that through reading and through writing. So what I'm going to try to do today is invite you to come and write with me a little bit. I understand that writing can be very hard for a lot of people, especially when they're looking at a blank piece of paper, when life is tough, they don't know what to write. I face that all the time. Even though I've been journaling for some time and I've written multiple journals in multiple places, I still struggle with that today. Sometimes I just want to pick up the phone and scroll YouTube. That seems more nice to do, more easier to do. Sometimes I just want to watch TV, right? Those just seem easier to do than have to like open up a journal and write about how my day is not going very well as I expected. But the writing is sort of the antidote to the rest of the day. It helps me at least, process through everything that I've been going through. That is happening, and it sort of softens the edge some way, right? Like when things feel very sharp, after I've written about it, they feel dull and blunt, and they feel like, oh, I can manage that. Before that felt like, oh, that's sharp, I don't know if I can pick that up, and now it feels like, yeah, I can grab that, I can figure out something to do with it. So that is sort of the end result that I'm going for, that I hope I can share with you, that you can achieve at that time. Let me start with a little bit of a history of where I'm coming from. I have tried my hand at journaling in the past, and I've always abandoned it somehow. This was 2022. I was working on a really tough project. There was a lot of confusion, there was a lot of meetings, there was a lot of stress. So I was heading towards burnout. On top of that, I had also gone on a bit of a weight loss journey, and even though I was feeling good about the weight I had lost, I was also very stressed about all the new habits I had to build and all the new ways I had to kind of think about nutrition and health and fitness. So I was heading straight towards burnout. There was a lot of novelty happening, a lot of stress happening in my life at that time. During that time, I went to a local bookshop on a Saturday, and I found this book. It's called On the Move by Oliver Sacks. It's his autobiography, I believe the last book he wrote. And I've been a big fan of Oliver Sacks for a long time. I started reading the book. And it's a lovely book by itself, but the piece of the book that really stood out to me, that it became really hugely inspiring part of my journaling journey, is how much Oliver Sacks loved to write in a journal. He said he wrote from when he was 12 years old, and his words, writing is like an indispensable way of talking to himself. It is important to make a narrative sense of life, and those words kind of show up in multiple other of his books. And those words just felt like a bell going off in my head, like, wow, is that even possible? Because that just felt easy, and it felt like a place where I wanted to be, where I was not. So I dusted off my journal that I left incomplete. It's this very one. I started this in 6th of April 2020, and I kind of abandoned it sometime in August of 2020. And it was kind of halfway through, and I was like, well, let me just give it a shot. And In a week's time of me just kind of picking this up and just putting some words onto it, pen on paper, just paragraphs, no structure whatsoever, just date it and just start writing. In a week's time, it felt like my muscles had all unclenched, my shoulders had dropped, like they felt like they had just kind of shedded a burden, and it felt amazing. It felt like something had suddenly cleared out. Like I use this analogy of like a vacuum cleaner, like when you're running a vacuum cleaner and it's really full, the bin is really full, and then it's not really sucking much, and then suddenly you empty the bin, suddenly it feels like you have a new vacuum cleaner that's doing such a great job. That's kind of how it felt like. Things were just like flowing better within a week's time for me, and that seemed incredible to me. Now, it did not cure my burnout. That has taken years. I still get close to burnout every now and then, but it helped me meet way more challenges in life with much more grace than I would have been able to meet if I did not have this tool, with me. So that is the benefit that I found through the act of journaling by long form, longhand. Since then, I have journaled a few different ways. I always maintain one journal for this year. This is this green book that you'll notice. This is my long form journaling book. This is about 400 pages in it, and I'm about halfway through this. So I've written about 200 pages already this year. I start a new one every year. And then I also do some bullet journaling. I use about 4 to 5 bullet journals a year, roughly once a quarter. I'm not going to talk about bullet journal today. There's a lot of really good videos out there that mention that. Maybe I will someday on how I do it, but that's not for this. Today I want to really get into the long form journaling side of my journaling practice, which I think is much more helpful than anything else. Like when life is smooth, maybe I don't need to pick up the long form journal very often, but when life does get tough, this is the one I go for because there's no structure. I can just put whatever down. There are no rules, and that is what is liberating about it. All right. So the way I'm going to try to help you find a way to journal, because if you clicked on it, you likely struggle to journal. You're looking for some motivation. And if you are, this is how we're going to do. We're going to do an exercise together. So this is not going to be something that you just passively consume. I mean, you can if you want to, but this is not how I'm structuring it today. We're going to do a prompt that I'll give you, and I'm going to give us then 2 to 3 minutes, not too much time, just 2 to 3 minutes to write around that prompt. It's going to be something easy, trust me, and we'll just do that, and then we'll kind of see how we're feeling. So at this point, if you haven't gotten anything around you, you can pause the video, get yourself a piece of paper and something to write with. It does not have to be anything fancy. It does not have to be your best notebook. It doesn't have to be your best pen. It could be a piece of paper from the printer. It could be a broken pencil. It could be a Sharpie in the back of an Amazon box for all I care. But as long as you're writing by hand, there's a lot of research that show that when we have these thoughts that are going through the back of our minds at 90 miles an hour, and especially when things are tough, right? We want to think through all the like scenarios over and over again, especially when that is happening. Writing it down with hand actually makes the thoughts have to go through the prefrontal cortex of your brain, which make you use grammar and language, and it slows it down there. And then when you have to write by hand, which is a slower process, far slower than typing is, it slows it down even more. And that slowing down is what helps you process those fast, hard feelings, even the good feelings. I think it helps slow them down and helps you process through them so they're no longer as prickly and sharp and sticky as they had been before. And that is kind of the goal we're going for. There's been a lot of research on this, especially by James Pennebacker of the University of Texas in Austin, I believe. I'll link to his book and his name in the description if you want to explore this idea more. So writing by hand is important here. So pause the video, and when you come back, hopefully you'll have a pen and a piece of paper on you. All right, so I'm going to do the same. And with that, what I'll do is, and here's the prompt, and it's a very simple prompt, right? This is what I do every time when I'm like, I don't want to write about this. I'd rather just watch some TV. But I know I need to write. I know the benefit I get from it. So here's how I trick myself into getting the gears moving, right? The trick is, I start by writing about what I hear. So it could be just a list of things I'm hearing, like right now I'm hearing the AC going. I'm gonna probably hear a car going by the road in front of my house, and so on. It's a pretty busy road. So I'll just start writing about, I'm hearing this, I'm hearing that, I'm hearing this, almost like you're listing it out. But then you can take that one step further and say, you start describing that sound. What does that sound like to you? So what if there was somebody you were telling about that sound that was not there to listen to it? How would you describe it? So here you can go as wild as you like. So list what you're hearing, describe that sound, what you're hearing, and now if you want to take it to that next step, you don't have to go this far. Look, whatever you write is fine. It doesn't have to be all of these steps. It doesn't have to be any of this stuff. If you just write your name a bunch of times on a piece of paper, that is a good start, and that is completely okay. All right, list, describe, and the third thing that I recommend you can get to, if you can get to it, is how is that sound making you feel? Like when, well, I'll talk about one that I'm hearing a sound right now that maybe you cannot hear on the mic, but I'll talk about how that makes me feel. So we'll come back at the end of that time and talk about, I'll briefly mention the things that I wrote so you can get an idea of what that short session looks like. And once we do that, we'll come back the week after, so following Sunday, and I will talk about how I build off of this momentum that I've now gained by writing about the sound, how I build off of that to talk about the other things that are important that I need to sort of process through my day. So that'll be the next part to this. So, all right, I'll stop talking here. I'll go quiet and give you some silence and write about what you're hearing right now. Let's start. All right, that was a short exercise. We're done with 3 or 4 minutes here. I didn't really pay a very close attention to it because it doesn't matter. And for me, I could just keep going with this idea, right? All right, so just give you a quick glimpse on this. Here's what I wrote, right? So I wrote about how when I started writing, all I could hear was the sound of the AC. It was kind of this rushing sound, and I couldn't hear anything from it. But as soon as I wrote that sentence, the AC stopped, and everything got very quiet. And that was just fantastic. It was almost like somebody turned the noise canceling on, in the room. And then I heard sounds of birds outside, and that was very cheerful. But I also felt a little disappointed because I did not know what birds they were based on the sound, and I know a few people in my life who really know bird sounds. So I wish I had their skill. So I wrote about that because, and you can see how we're kind of piggybacking off of just a sound I'm hearing to the desire I have about learning about bird sounds. Suddenly I've exposed something about me here that maybe I can just knew tacitly in the back of my mind, but that has now come in black and white, literally on the page. I wrote about how I started hearing sounds of cookie sheets coming out of the oven. My wife was baking cookies when I started making the video. So I'm kind of now hungry for cookies that are freshly out of the oven because I can hear the sound of that. The cookie tray makes when it's coming out of the oven, when the oven has these steel racks, and they make that kind of flat, what did I write? The flat drum sounds. The cookie sheet kind of wobbles a little bit in there. So I wrote about that. So there you go. That was a very quick exercise. I would normally do something like this for about half a page, and then I start getting into some of the other stuff that might be happening. Maybe I kind of started my day feeling anxious or worried or feeling busy or feeling rushed, and then I would write this, and then I realized that, hey, things are actually quiet and nice, and there's cookies to enjoy. And that helps shift perspective, get me off of maybe a track that I'm on, which is I need to achieve things, or I have this task list in front of me, and then I can get to, well, it's okay to sit back and enjoy some things for a while. Or maybe, you know what, learning about bird sounds is actually fun. I need to go call my friend Jack, who's a birder, and go hang out, look at birds with him sometime. So those are all things that come up here that would not have come up if I hadn't started writing about just sounds. And that's just one way to kind of break through that inertia we feel when we cannot write. So I'd love to hear if you practice this with me. What sounds did you write about? Did that help you kind of break loose of that inertia, of that stuckness to I don't know what to write? And then did it help you, at least with pen on paper? One thing to note is that it doesn't matter what your handwriting is like. Nobody's going to judge if you write in block letters, if you write in beautiful cursive script. It doesn't matter. And that's why I'm not showing you a close-up angle of my journal and whatnot, because that is not what this is about. This is just about us talking about how to get started doing this, just how to break loose of that inertia to go forward. So there it is. Next week, I'll talk about how to take this and build on it and talk about and write about some of the more, maybe more inquisitive, deeper questions that might come up. But this is just getting that momentum started, right? So what do you do when you've got the momentum going? We'll talk about that in the next video. And we'll do a few of these that are more like training sessions to get you going, and then once we get going, we will get into more of a longer journaling and kind of see how the benefits are. And there's a few different types of structures in journaling. I shouldn't say structures, they're not structures, they're just like a few tricks that I do sometimes when I'm tackling particularly prickly topics. What I do to get inspired, what I do to keep this journal private, and so on. So we'll bring up a lot of things that we can talk about on here. But until then, I hope you like this exercise, and I hope I will see you on the next one.